Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a very quick but special League of Legends video. So the most recent big rework was obviously to the Assassin class, but it seems like Riot is already ready to go for the next class update, and it's gonna be the tanks. They have also revealed the very first champion to be updated within this tank update class, and that's going to be SEJUANI. So throughout this video, I'll be going over the post that was made by Riot's Soul Crush, and we'll talk about not only the class update for the tanks, but also what they're planning to do for SEJUANI. So if you're excited for SEJUANI's update or just a tank class update overall, let me know by hitting that like button. So let's first very quickly touch on what they're planning to do to the tank class overall, and just in a general sense. The first thing is they want to add more skill expression to tank combat patterns for themselves as well as their opponents. In other words, they're looking for ways to offer more points of play and counterplay, and just rewarding players for committing a lot of time into a specific tank champion, and not making them so kind of one-dimensional to the point where you can probably pick up a tank champion at the very moment, play maybe 2 or 3 games, and get a pretty decent idea or grasp on what you should do and how you should do it. So in other words, they want to add more depth to the tank champions. Following this, they're also trying to reduce the amount of reliable damage that tanks bring to the game, and instead they want to amplify their defensive and crowd control capabilities. Now the main thing that you want to tank for is of course to initiate, to soak up damage, and to bring CC to the high priority targets. Essentially, you want to be just a very annoying champion. But at the very moment, a lot of tanks, while being annoying, maybe like Nautilus and Maokai and many others, they'll still be able to do an insane amount of damage, a lot more than they should be. So they're offering a little bit too much, and Riot wants to kind of take out the power of their offensiveness and give more power to their defensiveness capabilities and what they should be doing. Again, soaking damage, initiating, and just offering CC. And last but not least, they're also trying to make each tank more unique. Now this is kind of an obvious thing. I mean, obviously they want to make each tank champion more unique to themselves and just, you know, having a reason to pick, for instance, Nautilus over Maokai or vice versa. But they also state how the Vanguard class in particular falls short in this regard, so they want to add more uniqueness outside of their ability to effectively initiate teamfights. And in case you're wondering, Vanguard includes champions such as Malphite, Amumu, Leona, Zac, Gragas, Rammus, Meganar, SEJUANI, which is the champion we'll be talking about in this video, Rek'Sai, Sion, Nautilus, Skarner. So with all that being said and done, let's focus on SEJUANI. What are they trying to do with her, and what are her current flaws? So here are the current problems that Riot sees with SEJUANI. The first of which is the fact that she's a cool champion, but she's got an unrealized thematic fantasy. For instance, she is a barbarian war leader riding a boar, which is pretty cool on paper. However, when you're actually playing her in the game, other than her Q which lets you dash on the boar, you don't really feel like you're playing someone that's the leader of her tribe, some barbarian war leader riding a boar kind of champion. You just feel like she just happens to have this boar, just riding it for the sake of riding it. So they want to focus more on that thematic and that gameplay fantasy. The next issue they see with SEJUANI, which I fully agree with, is the fact that she's too reliant on her ultimate. The abilities in her kit are not too bad, but let's be honest, the gap close on the Q is pretty slow. It's not the biggest range either, and I mean, you can definitely see it coming. And the other abilities don't really do anything unless you have already hit them with something else or auto attack them with obviously your auto attacks. So she naturally just heavily relies on landing her ultimate to initiate a fight, which is a good thing in a way, but it's also a very, very bad thing. Because everything else in her kit is just underwhelming, it's not very fun to play, and if you ever do miss your ultimates, then you probably just have to back off and wait for 2 minutes before trying again. Next up, she also has a lack of interesting or interactive combat pattern. It's just very dull, it doesn't have a lot of depth or complexity to it, it's extremely straightforward and linear, and they want to make it just interesting and just more dynamic. And the final thing that they see very wrong with SEJUANI that they have currently stated is that she lacks a unique identity. There's definitely a reason why you don't see SEJUANI very often in your solo queue games unless she's just very, very strong at the moment because of the items that currently work well with her. Other than that, her kit herself doesn't really bring all that much, and the only thing she has going for her is her ultimate being more or less a ranged Amumu ultimate. So she's not very unique, and she doesn't really bring to the table what many other champions can also bring, but potentially even better. But now the question is, how do they plan on fixing this? How do they plan on making her just a better champion, someone that's more unique, brings more to the table, has more things you can do with her, has more counterplay, and overall just a better champion, a better version? Well, first off, they want to tap more into the war leader type fantasy. They would like to have moments where SEJUANI feels like she's actively leading and inspiring her allies, because that is her thematic gameplay, her thematic fantasy. fantasy. They would also like to add more elements to her kit that alludes to the Cavalier fantasy who is always on the move, ready to rush in on her opposition. She's not someone that just sits in the back like a ranged champion, throws in an ultimate, and if it lands then she'll consider going in. No, she has to be someone that uses her basic abilities to already put in that pressure, that engage type pressure, very similar to maybe like Hecarim, where she's just ready to jump into the middle of the fight and her ultimate complements her ability to already initiate it for her team. Next up, they also want to create a more engaging base combat pattern. This goes hand in hand with what I said earlier as to what they see wrong with SEJUANI. Her kit is extremely linear. They want to make it more interesting. They want to make it so that if you spend a lot of time playing the champion, you'll be able to do things that a normal person that just picked her up will not be able to do successfully, nor at all. And they want to make more counterplay for the champion as well, and not make her such a dull champion where she's pretty much required to be standing right beside her opponent, auto-attacking him in the face in order to really do anything else with her abilities. So definitely expect her ultimate to be a bit weaker, but in turn, her other three abilities and probably her passive to be much more impactful and bring more kind of interesting elements. Following this, like I said earlier, they want to make tanks deal less damage but be more as tanks, to actually offer things that tanks should be offering, and not be these hybrid tanky damage dealing champions. So SEJUANI is going to get a new ultimate that not only reflects her character more, but will also be more appreciable. And last but not least, and this is what really gives her this sort of unique identity, they want SEJUANI to directly synergize with specific allies. So if you're playing with a specific champion on your team, you'll have even more synergy that you can do with them, as her being the true barbarian war leader. So maybe if you have Trinimir on your team, there's even slightly bonus effects or synergy that you can have between the two champions. Now with that being said, they still want her to offer more interesting things to her allies in general, but they also want to add more interesting, unique interactions between specific champions as well. So that will be really cool to see exactly what they do with that. But either way guys, that is it for this video. There you have it. SEJUANI rework is 100% confirmed, and also the tank rework as well confirmed. Let me know down below what you think of Riot's kind of goal or purpose with SEJUANI is, and if you believe that they are going in the right direction with the champion. But either way, make sure to share this with your friends and everyone that you know, so that everyone understands and knows what is coming to League of Legends. Once they release more information regarding other champions that they plan to rework, you know I'll be making videos on that, discussing it with you guys as well. But regardless, thank you all so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Like it if you did, subscribe if you haven't, and check out my other videos as well. Peace.